We're talking about situations or devices that, in a perfect world, they never would have made it to our radar. They wouldn't have crossed our doorstep. We wouldn't be stuck with them. These are things that are usually out of our control on the front end, but somehow we get stuck with them. Somehow they either become our responsibility or people think they're our responsibility or try to make them our responsibility. So these are, again, situations and devices, tangibles and non-tangibles, things that just kind of throw us for a loop, and we got to dust ourselves off and figure out how to deal with them. And some examples there. Right, I'm dealing with the oddball thing with some Apple TVs right now. Not particularly wireless, this problem, but certainly turning into a bag of crap with something that Apple has done with the recent code on the newer Apple TVs. Yeah, quirky, stunted, consumer grade devices. Again, the webinar is aimed at enterprise wireless. That's always important to just kind of ground ourselves in. So a lot of times the consumer devices can be a problem. When I talk about reckless vendor promises, there's going to be an example later on here in a little bit, and we give some examples of bags of crap. And this can be, um, you know, uh, data sheet promises that you can do X number of something on this particular solution, and then you're not even close to X, and it crumbles. And then you find out the reality that, well, it's just a bullet point on a data sheet. You're not really supposed to depend on that as truth. Or it might be a situation where, a vendor, a client vendor finds out that you have wireless, asks no questions whatsoever about your wireless. And because you have wireless, they promise that it's going to work, and things get bought and implemented without your knowing about it. I can feel some heads shaking already out there in the crowd. Just that umbrella topic of reckless vendor promises can cover a lot of things, including the buggy code. The other topic, the other term we need to define are wireless friends, WLAN friends, right? My definition here is individuals or teams whose collaboration and chumminess make our lives easier, and they make the wireless network better, right? You want friends. You want to be a friend, right? Get a little philosophical here. As in all parts of life, relationships are critical, right? You can only be an island for so long. Again, doesn't matter whether we're talking networking. There's only so long that you can hide behind your door and not talk to people, and doesn't matter what your skill set is, your technical skill set. Doesn't matter how sharp you are at any routing protocol. Doesn't matter what certificates you have, whatever. Sooner or later, you got to get out there and mix with people, and you want those people to be your friends, right? So some examples of what I'm calling WLAN friends that apply to the definition above, right? These are people that we need. They make life easy. They make our wireless better. So senior IT management, absolutely, you want to be aligned with the people above you in your own organization. The admins for critical services, if they're not directly part of your team, you're going to want to befriend them if you're running wireless networks, if you're running any kind of network, security team, right? Whatever your vendor is or multiple vendors, really you want to be on good terms with their SEs, right? Just this, to me, these are just facts of life, but sometimes it's just not the case. And I'm saying this is all pretty important. And who the heck is Fred in LA? Well, if you got remote sites, if you support remote sites, well, it's really, really good to have somebody that you can count on, at least one somebody out in these remote sites. They may not even be a network person. They might just be somebody who can put hands on and be coached through doing something. And sooner or later, you're going to need something out in a remote site. And I have remote sites in Europe, in the US and in Europe. And there's a lot of times, Fred in LA might be Marco in London, and just having that person there to put eyes or hands on something can really eliminate a bag of crap or keep something that could develop into a bag of crap from happening. So again, just some context here. What is it that we're talking about with my little adventure into the world of bags of crap, WLAN friends? So let's talk about the relationship between the two topics, right? I'm not telling you anything. I'm preaching to the choir when I say, we already get too many bags of network crap. It's just the nature of anything where you got lots of people, lots of devices, lots of technologies crisscrossing. Things pop up, but our friends would never purposefully throw another one at us. They know what we're up against. We know what they're up against. Our friends can help us get rid of bags of crap. They're our friends. That's what friends do, right? Collaboration, working together, recognizing a problem that somebody else may need to get involved to help you solve, or vice versa. This is where senior management and the help desk and people like that come into play. The third bullet there, your friends are going to go easy on you. They're even going to advocate for you when you're dealing with a bag of crap. They don't tend to pile things on. If you've nurtured your relationships, ideally, when the C-level person or, some senior person kind of knocks on your door and says, how is that problem going? They're saying it with empathy and sympathy and not rage, because you're making them look bad. Hopefully the relationship works in your favor and they're on your side when things get tough, right? That's that's a good goal if it's not obvious. And then your WLAN friends understand that the crap in the bag is not of your making. This gets really important, right? This is something you got stuck with. And if somebody can recognize that, okay, you're dealing with something you didn't create, that is different than, hey, you screwed this up, you got to fix this. Those are two different things. But even though they're two different courses of thought and courses of action, a lot of times lines get blurred. And those lines get blurred when people don't understand each other, when people haven't taken the time to become friends, in my context. So let's talk about the proper handling of bags of crap. And when I say handling, right, we're talking about management. We're talking about how you deal with it. So I'm saying holding is handling. They're one and the same. This is something I was stuck with and I'm handling it. It's not mine, but I'm going to get it done. Right? Too often, this is just part of our professional responsibility. Something kind of lands in your lap. You can ignore it or you can deal with it. And ignoring it is just going to lead to problems. You can try to pass it off to somebody if that somebody is actually who it should get passed off to. But if you're just kicking the can and that little voice in your head is saying, oh, geez, I'm the person who needs to deal with this can I just kicked, it's going to come back to you, right? How we deal with these situations kind of defines us as professionals. So, we want to, what I say there, hold that bag of crap with dignity, right? Now, on the other hand, owning it, that's never wise. You don't want to take a problem that somebody else created and internalize it. And maybe there's some nuance there that needs to be explained a little bit, right? I'm not saying, when I say assume no responsibility, I'm not saying ignore it. Treat it like it's not your job. You don't want to be the waiter that, the waiter walks by and you say, excuse me. And your response is, sorry, not my table. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about not owning the root cause, making sure that people know, it feels like a wireless problem. It's not a wireless problem. It's something else. It feels wireless because the wireless network is in the path, but it is not a wireless problem. It started over here. We're working with those people to get it resolved. Calling out the rightful originator is healthy. It kind of protects your reputation, protects the reputation of the network. And we're going to talk about all of this a little bit more. But again, owning it, not good. Absolutely dealing with it from point A to point B, point A being you get wind of it, point B being resolution or handoff to somebody who can resolve it. That's responsible professional behavior. It's a good looking pug, isn't it? Yeah, all right. All pugs are good looking. Let's just get that out. So what makes for a good wireless network? Kind of a quick detour, kind of reground ourselves here before I get into some examples. excuse me, obviously technical excellence, right? Design, density, all things scaled right, good monitoring. The network is healthy. It's been set up right. It's tended to on a daily basis as needed. When it evolves responsibly. The right people have been involved all along, right? Technical excellence. It's kind of sounds like a trite phrase, but there is a lot that goes into technical excellence when it comes to a wireless network. And the wireless network obviously is part of the overall network. And for the wireless network to feel good, the overall network had to have been set up right. Your uplinks to access points, your PoE, proper, bandwidth out to the internet, good DHCP pools, all kinds of stuff goes into technical excellence. Unfortunately, you can achieve technical excellence. You can sustain it, but it's not enough. That's just our reality. Again, we're dealing with people. We're dealing with all kinds of devices. We're dealing with mindsets. We're dealing with technical ignorance. And that's not a phrase that's meant to insult anybody. But if I'm technically ignorant on a topic, it means I just don't understand it. I don't have the benefit of ever having learned it. Doesn't make me stupid. It doesn't mean I'm a negative person. It just means that I don't understand that topic. And where we get a lot of technical ignorance going on with problems, real easy to say there's nothing technically excellent about the network sucks. The network can be perfectly fine, but at the same time, it gets black eyes that are undeserved, right? This is, again, it's not news to anybody listening, probably. So when I say technical excellence just isn't enough, the things that make it better, or the things that shore it up, and the things that preserve technical excellence are diplomacy and politics, right? So we need to be able to effectively communicate with our end users, with other IT departments, even when contentious issues are in play, right? It comes down to mutual respect is what we're talking about when we talk about diplomacy. Again, this is, as I said in the beginning, OSI layer 8 stuff, right? Just being able to respectfully tell somebody when they come in and say, the bottom is falling out, you need to fix this. Yes, we need to fix this. I do agree, we need to. It's not a wireless problem. Let me explain what's going on. The person you're talking to listens to, you muster the right resources beyond the wireless team. Explanations are made, people realize the gravity, people pitch in, get together. That's diplomacy, right? That's making deals. That's please drop what you're doing because I need you. And when you need me, I will drop what I'm doing. This is technical diplomacy at work. Super, super important. Again, no matter how good the network is, eventually you're gonna need to rely on that. In politics, again, just as important as diplomacy, but slightly different direction, right? Our policies are clear. When somebody says, well, why can't I put my, pop up a wireless router over in the shipping department? Well, because we have policy that says you can't, and this is why. And when somebody complains to goes to the big boss and complains about somebody or something related to wireless, well, the big boss backs you up, right? This is good politics. Goals are aligned. The thing that I'm doing with the wireless network is what the C-suite thinks we ought to be doing. Because there's been conversations, there's been the right meetings, there's been the right project management, everything is aligned. Good politics, good diplomacy, they are the things that shore up technical excellence. And call it a three-legged stool, however you want to think about it. It's all important. And obviously budget. If there isn't enough money to go around, it's hard to achieve technical excellence. And diplomacy and politics can get pretty strained. Right? Just a lot of nuance, a lot of stuff that maybe doesn't involve the installers per se, but when you run big networks, this stuff is so important. So now let's put some meat on the bones here of these bags of crap. Bags of crap I have known. I won't say I've known and loved, but I've certainly known them. And then we'll talk about how the WLAN friends helped the situation. Got a handful of them here. kind of move them along fast in the interest of time. And I'm sure I could list dozens and dozens of examples. And then if I took a breath, got some coffee, I could probably come up with hundreds of examples over my many years of doing wireless. And I have no doubt that, people out there listening have a few that come right to their minds too, and they're going to find some parallels to some of what I'm about to share. Sorry about the swallowing noises. Got to keep the coffee going down so I don't get a dry throat or sore throat. It's just that time of year. So number one bag of crap. That bag of crap was a controller code meltdown. Goes back a few years, but I run a big network. Clients are measured in the tens of thousands. APs are measured in the thousands. That's the general network. I got some smaller ones too, but that's the main one that keeps my attention during the day. In this particular situation, it was one of those cases where a controller was sized based on the vendor promises. It was installed, it was used successfully for a little while, and then we started getting big problems. And those big problems were just crippling to the network. You're on, then you're not on. You're more off than you are on. And again, times that by thousands of people who use wireless for their main access method. And the topology was sound, everything was fine except the controller code. And it turned out that something on the data sheet was promised, and it was absolutely, what it could do was absolutely a fraction of what was promised. All right. So in a situation like that, again, that's really a bag of crap. I didn't write the code. It's not my bag. I spec'd a good controller going by the vendor specifications. Again, this is not of my making. So I'm not owning this. I'm holding it. I'm dealing with it, but I'm not claiming it as my own. Right. So the risk of reputational damage is super high there. And when we talk about the friends in this situation, right? Senior management, help desk, and the vendor SE, thankfully, they were all friends, right? Senior management understood that this is not a problem that was created in-house. That actually is really, really important. It kind of sets the tone for the tolerance to get the problem fixed. It gets them involved with the vendor if needed. It gets them off of your back. You got to fix this. You got to fix this. Well, let me know if I can lean on them a little bit. Now that I understand where the problem is. Basically, the bottom line in this case is we kept the end users very well informed of what was going on through the kinds of methods. So they knew this is not a problem we created. Our network is good. Something upstream is problematic. And basically, the local vendor SE team really, really did a great job of cutting through all the red tape, getting us right to the product developers and managers, and basically in a very surprisingly fast turnaround, we got new controllers that were better scaled. Right. So again, we had a bag of crap, and we had friends that helped us get through it, and thankfully it led to resolution. And that is my hand. My hand, my nails look good down there under the word resolution. That is me. We had another situation, Windows updates, put the hurt on our wireless, right? We've got just a great network running along healthy day in, day out, week in, week out. People love it. Come to work, don't even have to think about it. Boom, patch Tuesday. Well, we're using 802.11r for the fast secure roaming on this network. And suddenly we got all kinds of pockets of Windows users that are either can't connect, or when they connect, they don't stay on. Macs, we've got a large Apple contingent in our user population. The Macs were not impacted. It's like, okay, we're starting to get a picture of maybe what's in play here. Our friends for this particular bag of crap that Windows created and set in our lap was the help desk. Again, the vendor the local engineers, user forums online, and those, again, I'm in higher ed, so there's a very helpful higher ed mailing list where people compare notes. And really, if you can tap into the right forum and know that you're not alone with the problem, that is just huge. So in this case, again, the help desk was our friend. They helped us to quickly target the issue. Rather than just throwing a bunch of junk over the fence and saying this one's complaining and this one's complaining, we got 5 complaints over here. We said, can we slow this down? Help us to identify what's unique about the ones that are working versus the ones that are not. And thankfully they did. We asked good questions, they gave good answers. Same deal on communications, right? Hey everybody, this is not a wireless problem. This is a Windows problem. Big difference. Our wireless network is as good as it's ever been. We're dealing with a Windows issue. Please have that perspective, and don't start throwing dirt at the wireless network. It's fine. And again, that's such an important point. The the vendor and the user forums, like I said, we're not alone. Misery loves company. At the same time, it's really good to know that you have company. It's when you hit something that's just totally strange and big and bad and nobody else is experiencing it. That is a powerful, lonely feeling, to use a word from probably a bunch of country songs. That sucks. But in this case, we found out that we were not alone. And basically, we ditched 802.11r until the OS caught up. We were able to deal with it. But we were able to deal with it rapidly and get to the point where people were back in business because we had friends that contributed to putting this bag of crap to rest. This is a good one. We had space changes that weren't coordinated with the network team, right? We got a VIP. He's used to coming into his office, sitting down, firing up his laptop, and connecting to wireless. And suddenly he can't. Dashboard is showing that the wireless access point is absolutely fine, hasn't been down, there's no errors on the switchboard. Why in the heck, if this guy is on the 2nd floor and there's an access point in his office, is he connecting up on the 4th floor or down to the 1st floor or to the 3rd floor? Very weakly, he should be on either 5 or 6 gig, the way that our network is set up, but he keeps on hitting 2.4, way off someplace else. What the heck is going on here? Reset the AP, start doing all the silly, desperate things we do when we don't have an answer. Reset the AP, reset the power cycle, the port, cycle the port, do all kinds of goofy stuff. Same results. But in this case, that VIP's local support person ended up being our WLAN friend. He quickly identified, some duct work got done, and that AP is above the sheet metal. Is that where it should be? You got an AP that, if you look close, is way up above all this metal. It's like, oh, geez. And he sent a picture. It's like, okay, we found the problem. Yeah, they're always doing work in this building. They're always changing things around, those facility guys. Because that person stood up and got involved and applied a little bit of common sense as our WLAN friend, the root cause was figured out a lot quicker than we could ever get somebody there. So now we let the VIP know what's going on. This bag of crap came from facilities. This isn't a wireless problem. Our wireless is good. People we rely on are still there doing what they should do. We're going to get that good, reliable wireless back, but you might have to go to another office until they can get over here and move it. And, boom, bag of crap resolved. And we would have got there eventually, whether it was later that day, the following day, whatever. But we were able to reduce response time literally, we were able to reduce root cause identification to minutes rather than hours or days in this case. It's a single user problem, single office problem. But again, that acronym, VIP, that can make a big difference because a lot of VIPs or their staff, all it takes is one, the loose lips sink ships saying, all it takes is one utterance from a VIP or their staff about the network sucks. And that has a butterfly effect and carries a lot of weight. A lot better if you can get in front of those. And in this case, we were able to. Another one here, wireless time clocks. Absolutely just the most horrible client, among the most horrible client devices I have ever seen. And the history on this one, wireless team was not involved. That needs to be said. The network team was not involved. Some committee ended up buying these. And the vendor just said, oh, you got wireless? We work on wireless. There was no questions asked. How's your wireless set up? What do you do for security? You know, what's your topology like? What protocols do you support? None of that was done. No proof of concept. The clocks were bought and they sucked beyond belief. They just would not work. The things that we were asked to do were nonsensical. Can you give us a separate SSID per clock? Can we have a separate SSID for all the clocks? Can we have a different VLAN? Can you limit each clock to an AP? You know, hundreds of hours were put into troubleshooting these things, but it became pretty obvious, pretty easy that this is a device problem. We were able to communicate that back to the committee that bought them, who got a little bit sheepish and embarrassed. But at the same time, our umbrage was turned to the vendor and away from the network. Again, it's not a network problem. All of our other 35 to 50,000 client devices are working just fine. These 150 clocks are an issue. Okay, if they're the common problem, probably not a wireless issue, right? But that communication and that recognition and that you know, that mass acceptance of that fact is really important. And if you didn't achieve that, you still got people saying, wireless sucks. We can't use our clocks. Right? So, you know, hopefully the point is being made here, right? Your friends help you get through these and they become, you know, allies in these cases. So, you know, obviously a strong case was made. This is just not sustainable. And our senior leadership decided, you know, the only way out of this, agreed with the recommendation, the only way out of this, it's so bad and so open-ended and so all over the place from the vendor. These things need to be wired. They were bought to be wireless. We're going to wire each and every one of them. And oh, by the way, you know, let's not repeat this. If we get into another oddball client device, utility device, it needs to be, you know, proof of concept. The fifth one and last one here. So this isn't exactly a wireless problem, but again, it does make the point, right? We were doing a big building, transitioning from old 802.11 AC APs to cloud managed 802.11 AX6E APs. Again, big building, it's a weekend, a lot of people not around. Typically, these upgrades are a slam dunk. Something new happened here. All of a sudden, these APs, this new round of APs isn't connecting to the cloud. Well, if they're a cloud managed AP and you can't get to the cloud, your upgrade isn't going very far. Yeah. So the installers and, you know, great guys, very technically smart up to their limits, they knew that something was going on, so they get a hold of the engineering team. Again, it's the weekend. So what are we looking at? We got an ACL that's problematic, something going on with a firewall, you know, DHCP, some VLAN, uplink not right. What the heck is going on here? It's the, you know, the weekend. Nobody wants to get involved and do work on the weekend because it's the weekend, but all of a sudden a whole bunch of people are shuffling to try to get these guys back in business. So in this case, our friends included, you know, server admins. That's for DHCP and DNS, the security team, looking at firewalls, doing packet captures, trying to figure out what's going on. And it turned out that basically there was a ACL issue. Everything worked up to that point because an ACL let through so many IPs out to the cloud and a range, and then we just expended that range, and we basically just had to stretch it out. It was a simple problem. Sorry about that. It was a simple problem at the end of the day, but sometimes simple problems take all kinds of eyes and hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? Until you get to the bottom of it. If everybody who jumped in had not jumped in, this could have dragged on for days because no one person involved had the whole view that led to the problem being identified. So, our friends, and again, not necessarily a wireless problem, but at the same time, we were able to solve it within an hour because people respected each other and valued each other enough to get involved to make this bag of crap go away. And they were able to finish the project within the change window. So happy ending, right? So I've given you not quite half a dozen bags of crap. Like I say, I'm sure some of them resonate, probably sound a lot like what other people have dealt with. Hopefully your resolution came as quickly as mine did in these kinds of cases. Hopefully you have your own, hopefully you've come to know the value of what I'm calling the WLAN friends. If not, boy, I'll tell you what, developing those friends is really worth the investment in time. So, of the scenarios I've given you, what do they all have in common, right? Well, without the friends, each one of these bags of crap could have turned really bad, right? Talked about the controller failure. And basically, that's hitting thousands of people. In some ways, that's as bad as the one in the VIP's office going out, because if that VIP, this is another thing I have experienced, the wrong person says something about the network, and with the weight it carries, suddenly you've got a lot of explaining to do to a lot of people. So-and-so said the wireless sucks over there. We better get a whole team over there and get ready to spend whatever it takes to get it so it's not bad because this person said it was bad. Or their secretary said that the very important person was having problems, whatever. The fallout, even though it's a more targeted scenario, the fallout can be just as weighty, just in different ways. Hopefully that makes sense. In my mind, it makes perfect sense. But hopefully it makes sense the way I'm saying it too, right? Each one of those situations could have turned really bad in its own way, right? And as I've said before, just in different words, we operate in a technical and a political ecosystem, right? There's people behind all of this. You've got the technical systems, and those are important. Good technology choices, good implementation, doing everything right, having the right skill sets involved, super, super critical. But beyond the technical, boy, those friendships, those alliances, those human connections, cultivating those is a skill unto itself. It's every bit as important of a skill as going out and getting any certification and accumulating whatever experience on the technical side. That human dynamic and recognizing it and leveraging it is also such a pivotal skill to success. And in each one of these cases, those communications, those dealing with our fellow man, was the essential element in getting resolution. Again, a lot faster than it could have been. Preserving my reputation, preserving the organization's reputation, preserving the wireless network's reputation. And each one of those really, really hard to achieve the good reputation. And then once you have achieved it, it's so fragile, right? It can get damaged really, really easily. Unfortunately, just the way it is, that equation doesn't change. That's how it is with reputations. So get kind of to the end of this before we open it up to discussion. Here's a thought. Dramatic pause for coffee. Again, preserving my voice, not trying to torture you with my sipping noises. Has your wireless network ever been someone else's bag of crap? All right, ponder that one, my friends. We all get a turn at that, and it is unfortunate. Sooner or later, we're human. Sooner or later, we're going to get something wrong, and that something is going to impact other people. It's going to be felt. We're going to botch something. just how it is, right? But we need to be aware of our place in the ecosystem. We need to be aware of the fact that if I do this configuration change without testing it on a small scale before I unleash it on the masses, it may end up doing some damage, right? We need to be methodical in what we do, and we need to be aware of, even though my laser focus is wireless, I have to acknowledge that beyond the borders of my laser focus and what I'm working on, what I do can hurt people. And, when I say hurt them, I mean, obviously impact their connectivity, ruin their work days, right? It's just a fact of life. And we don't want our network to be someone else's bag of crap. If it turns into that, we need to be as responsive as we hope people are when we need them, because we could end up being mentioned in somebody else's slideshow, somebody else. I dealt with this, the wireless team got involved and they were my friend and they helped me get rid of this bag of crap. This is what networking is, right? So my advice, keep your doors open, keep your bridges unburned, give out your phone number. Right? Everything shouldn't have to go through a ticketing system, especially when it's a huge problem. Make sure people who need to know how to reach you can reach you. Foster those cutting across silos really, really quick when it's needed. Get your network of allies all set up for fast response. We all need each other, right? No matter what our place is on the network, we're not islands. Another fine pug. This is what AI is about to me.
I was about to say this has to be AI pug generated.
I can't tell you how many dozens and dozens of pug pictures. To me, it's usually create the image of a pug wearing something, holding a bottle of tequila. There's usually fighter jets overhead. To me, that's what AI is meant to be.